How a man can say a thing which is not true has always been and still remains a very perplexing question. Can anyone say or think that falsehood really exists and avoid being caught in a contradiction? Plato. I don't want to be a simile anymore, I said. I want to be a metaphor. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himvar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of China Mieville's Embassytown. This is a sci-fi story about words, which is kind of my thing if you don't watch this channel, which is actually why I went with this as my first Mieville. This actually won the Locus Award for Best Sci-Fi Novel, but let's get into the actual story. This is a first-person narration by Avis Benner-Cho. She's just returned from The Out, which is a colloquial shortening of outer space. Embassytown is the place. The natives are aliens called Eriki or something like that. It's on the planet's Erika, and it's on the edge of the known universe. It's a colony of Bremen who, the exports are alien-enhanced biotech, pretty much. Humans interact with the locals, and so do other exots, other extraterrestrial species. It's pretty much just a straight-up liminal space. Few can actually speak the Eriki language, simply called language in this. It requires speaking 2 words at once, and only ambassadors, which are genetically engineered twins, bred for the purpose of communicating, are the ones able to communicate properly with the locals, and this allows for some trade and other things. The language itself does not allow lying, not even speculation can be employed, only the perceived reality and state of mind of the Eriki. Similes are created by recruiting people to perform tasks. These then work as illusions, which relates to the most thrilling activity. Apparently, they get a thrill out of making these similes. The Festival of Lies, which, kind of goes along with this, then sees who can get closest to lying, which is, of course, actually taboo to lie. So, it's just kind of risque, I guess, but fun. And this is pretty much the premise of the story, the focus. The Irike are normally called hosts. The ambassadors have names written like fractions. For example, there's Ez/Ra. So, not Ezra, but Ez/Ra. Like Ez and Ra said at the same time. That's what it's supposed to be. But so that's kind of weird. But Avis Benner-Cho is an immerser traveling hyperspace, which is called the Immer, which is German for always, actually. And this is described in nautical terms. It's not actually that important. And she has some trauma from simile creation when she was younger. And Avis is married to the linguist Skyle, I'm not really sure, Skyle, who is very much a descriptivist and doesn't want the host language to change, though language change is natural, of course. But he's mostly concerned about outside sources from like colonialism and like changing it rapidly, which is understandable, but really hard to help. Parole is a fun word, I feel like, meaning word in Middle French. This is where English gets it, actually. It has many denotations, and this is a highlight of the cerebral focus of the story, right? Soothing aspects of language, but also the weaponizing of it in regard to many relationships. Surely some obvious lessons for our world are made rather starkly clear here. Though cultural clash being destructive and being harmful but unavoidable is an obvious one, and it's done in a post-colonial multicultural fashion. Same with the ideas of addiction. The style is immersive, the reading like finding puzzle pieces as you progress. In some ways the plot is kind of weak, but that depends on how well you grasp onto language, capital L language here. And I like it, though this feels more akin to semiotics rather than, philology, which is my gig, but this is, a postmodern book, so I shouldn't be surprised it's semiotics here. Other interesting far-future things, there's no nuclear family, but a cooperative and group parenting initiative. And this is the 3rd universe, apparently. Each have different physics. Also, the narrator's initials being ABC is kind of funny. This often gets the label of weird, and that's well enough, but I hope from everything I've already said, you have a better idea than, just that single word. It feels kind of like old school satire, proto-science fiction in a way. Oh, and I'm pretty sure there is something in reference here to Philip K. Dick's Ubik, which I actually read after this. So anyways, also the chapters oscillate between formerly, then set things in the past and the latter day, and those in the present, and sound like a Mormon reference, but I'm not seeing what It is, exactly. Anyways, also, it only has this division until all hell breaks loose after the first couple parts. And it does seem kind of like a little long of a book. The plot isn't the best. It's definitely more of an idea book, or a big idea, I guess you could say, if you want. Also, the characters are largely ideas themselves and not the most relatable, at least for me. And this happens in sci fi sometimes. I feel like it's avoidable, but whatever. I did enjoy it, but wasn't blown away. It's quite exciting at times, but it's very rather boring at other times, just to be completely honest. Definitely not a favorite novel. I think it has some interesting aspects. And again, the language stuff just doesn't land super well for me. It does some stuff that I do agree with. But it's kind of like The Player of Games, actually, which I read a little before this by Ian Banks, which also focuses on language, but again, not in the ways that I find particularly fascinating or interesting or helpful. So I'm not sure what I'll read next by Mieville. Hopefully something I enjoy more, like The City or Perdido Street Station, or maybe even Kraken. I think was one I was trying to think about reading next. So anyways, an interesting book for sure. Definitely plan on reading more Mieville. So, Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.